Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching a very special segment on NewsX, the Bharat Pulse survey. Yes, at the start of 2026, what is the country's pulse? What is the pulse of Bharat? Well, that's something we're going to attempt to tell you in these special segments. Before policies, before politics, before promises, we asked Indians one thing: how does life feel for them right now? As the new year begins, the Bharat Pulse survey is taking a snapshot of the country through everyday experiences, income, happiness, and outlook about the future. We ask people to step back and judge the journey so far. Is India progressing as a nation? Then we also ask them to look ahead. What does 2026 hold? We brought the focus home. Has your family income changed over the past year? We also ask something rarely measured in headlines: how happy are you with your life today? And finally, we asked, can India truly become a developed nation by 2047? In essence, this survey is painting a picture of a nation entering 2026. This is part one of the Bharat Pulse survey about India's progress through the eyes of its people. And now we will take a look at how people are reacting to the 5 big questions we posed to them as part of this Bharat Pulse survey first segment. And what are the results? Well, let's quickly pull them out one by one. So the first question, of course, that we put out to people in part one of the Bharat Pulse survey 2026 was: how do you think India is progressing as a country overall? And what did people say? Well, here are the results. So an overwhelming 36% people said that India's progress as a country is excellent. 36% going with excellent. 27% people feel that India's progress is good as of today. 22% people saying it's average, and just 15% people feel that our progress is poor. Now we pose the next question to them: what is your future outlook for India in 2026? Well, here too, as you can say, it was largely, of course, in the positive direction. The positive outlook has scored, of course, 34%. Positive outlook for India in 2026 is what most of the people said. 34% of the survey respondents. 32% said it's very positive. So very positive also scoring 32%. What about the other options put out to respondents? So average, that is neutral. 20% respondents had a neutral perspective towards Bharat's outlook in 2026, and 7% people feel it's negative, 7% people feel it's very negative. The next big question we asked people as part of the Bharat Pulse survey was: how has your family income changed in the past year? And here are the results. Well, 43% people actually said it remained the same. So no change is what 43% people said. 34% people said it's actually gone up in the last 365 days. 23% people said it's gone down. What about people's lives? How happy are they? How content are they with their life? Well, that's the next question we posed to the respondents of this survey, and as you can see, 37% actually feel that they're quite happy. So 37% people said they're happy with their life as of now. 29% people said they were very happy with their life. 18% people saying they were neutral. 11% said that they were unhappy, and 5%, only 5% people said that they were very unhappy. Now the final question we put out was: do you think India will become a developed nation by 2047? There is this whole talk of Viksit Bharat. Is that achievable by 2047? Well, yes, it is achievable. Say 57%. That's a huge majority. 57% people say yes, it is achievable. Only 15% people believe it's not achievable. That's a no. 20% people say maybe, and just 8% people say that they can't say. So these, of course, are the big results of the Bharat Pulse survey segment 1. And let's open it up to our guests now to get their first reactions to how people of Bharat have commented at the start of 2026 on a variety of subjects and questions that we asked them. Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, let me quickly get you in here. Dr. Kohli, what do you make of the responses given by the people of the country. Let's begin by talking about income. So a lot of people actually saying that the income hasn't really changed in the last 365 days, saying it's static. Yes, there are some percentage people who are saying it has gone up, and thankfully a minimal amount of people saying that it's actually gone down in the last year. So if we talk about income of people, yearly income, annual income, let's just take that response with you first, Dr. Kohli.
Good evening, Uday, to you, my fellow panelists, and the NewsX viewers. I'm not surprised by the responses here from the respondents, because in economics, we study which is something called trickle-down effect, that when an economy grows at a certain pace, the impact of that is not equal across all stratas of the society. There is a section of people who get a very good benefit out of the increasing GDP. That is, they are the maximum beneficiaries. Then there's another lot of people who are moderately benefited. And there is another section of people who do not feel that trickle-down effect. So the trickle-down effect consistently is felt when the economy continues to grow at this pace for a very long time. Then, of course, even the last man in the queue stands to benefit. So when 43% people say that their incomes have not grown, it depends on the composition of the respondents as well. Do they come from salary wing? Do they come from small businesses? Do they come from self-employed people? So it all depends on that. If it is salary, when corporates and salaries do go up, even if it's a very small amount, 5%, 7%, 3%, 10%. But if it is small businesses, self-employed people, there is always a mix of people who are there. So most important aspect is that how much of the population is benefiting out of this fast pace of growth, the GDP growth of 8.2% that we have achieved. And the biggest example of this, Uday, I would like to highlight here, is that 25 crore people have come out of multidimensional poverty index. Now, their living standard has improved. I think instead of income, I found somebody, like one of the questions in your survey is how happy you are. Now, happiness is a very relative term. I met somebody who had 5 lakhs in his bank account. I went to a village and he said, I'm not happy, I'm not content. And I have a lot of things which I need to do, but I cannot do them. Then I met another person who had 10,000 rupees in his Jan Dhan account. He said, I'm very happy. I never had these 10,000 rupees ever collected with me. And I'm very happy. I feel I'm feeling on the top of the world. I feel I can go and get anything now that I want. So I think happiness is a very relative term, and they are all interrelated. You know, the questions which you put, all the 5 questions, they are all interconnected. If we talk of economics, whether India will become developed economy in 2047, well, it all depends if your income is increasing, if poverty is getting eliminated, if the infrastructure is being built. But I feel this kind of survey depends on, the span of people covered, the number of respondents, and which strata do they come from. But the results are very interesting, and the results are quite, I would say, matching the expectations as an economist. If I would have probably asked those many people, I would have got similar answers over there.
Right. Vekanarayan, let me quickly bring you in here. Also, what we see is that people are happy with the progress of the nation. They believe that the country is progressing and it's progressing in the right direction. They're also pretty optimistic about the future outlook as well in the year 2026 for the country's growth. What do you make of that?
Well, overall, the responses to NewsX's questions were optimistic. I'm not surprised. I mean, there is no doubt that there has been considerable development. India is the fastest growing, large economy in the world now. We have just overtaken Japan as the 4th largest. But the fact remains that our per capita income is only $2,600 US. And if we are hoping to become a Vikasit Bharat, a developed country, it will mean that at least we should aim to increase the per capita income to 15,000 US, or maybe 12 to 14 trillion dollars GDP, which means the income in the next 22 years has to go up at least by 5 to 6 times. I don't know if that is going to happen, but if our growth continues to be at the pace of 6 to 7 or 7 to 8%, I'm sure we will end up by at least growing by 3 times. But in the next 22 years, to be able to be considered a developed country, we need to target 32 to 35 trillion dollar GDP, which means a 6 to 7 times increase of the existing GDP and per capita income also. So, this is a tall order, but the point is, here is a government which is thinking about such a long term, 22 years. And this is a wonderful thing. And they say that if you aim for the skies, you will end up at least on tree tops. And so I am very confident, unless something like COVID happens. COVID cost us several $100 billion of losses. And if we continue to grow non-stop at the rate of 8 to 10% for the next 22 years, we might become an upper middle class economy, not exactly a developed economy, because the current per capita income in developed countries like the United States ranges between $30,000 to $50,000. I doubt if we are going to be able to achieve that, but we must work hard to make sure that our
Yes.
growth continues to be
Okay.
more than 8, 9 or 10% for the next 22 years.
Okay. And interestingly, also talking about a futuristic outlook stretching beyond 2026 alone, we asked respondents, of course, about whether India can be a developed nation by 2047, the Viksit Bharat, the goals and dreams, whether they're achievable or not. And quite an overwhelming majority, Mithali Nikore, said yes, they are. We are on track and we will achieve that by 2047. What do you make of that response in particular?
So I think, Uday, it's very heartening to see that people are so optimistic about the Indian economy overall. I mean, when it's not about just their personal income, but there seems to be a clear understanding amongst all the voters and all the people who have responded to your survey that at the end of the day, the kind of growth that the Indian economy is posting is much larger, much higher than comparable emerging economies, and is also bringing in a better standard of living, to their lives as compared to even other options that they may have. Because I'm assuming that a lot of your respondents for NewsX viewers are people who are mobile, people who can change cities or people who can even change countries and have options, and they're choosing to live here. Many of us are choosing to live here. Many of us are choosing to build the Indian economy, and I think somewhere the viewers are also realizing that their contributions towards building the economy are giving results. They are seeing better consumption options. They are seeing a standard of living that they can compare to outside, to abroad. They are seeing good food options. So the everyday life which the viewers are seeing is definitely improved. Yes, the question which you asked Dr. Kohli as well about income, that is actually absolutely in line with this answer of 2047, because while they know that the country is progressing, maybe they aren't seeing their own personal income rise enough. And that's the one big change that they want to see, and that anybody would want to see, right? Anybody would want that their personal income should rise as fast as possible. So I think that while they see that progress in the country, they also want to see that progress in their personal income, in their personal finances. And that's where I think that we as a country can do a lot more when it comes to the personal finance sector and the insurance sector and the savings instruments that people are getting. Because while our interest rates are fairly high, maybe we are not seeing as many insurance products or as many savings products as more developed markets. But overall, I think the outlook for everybody is very good, it's very positive, and it's well understood that the Indian economy is here to stay for the next decade or 2 decades. We are going to become a developed economy.
Jyota Vasu, let me draw you in here as well on, of course, also the happiness index. Now, this is an index which often isn't measured by, media surveys and news channel, pulse reports, but we decided to do that as well. We asked people how happy they are with their daily life, and it's quite, gratifying to see that a lot of them are very happy or happy, as compared to very few of them actually being unhappy with their daily lives.
Well, I would say this is in keeping with the general atmosphere, the general whatever this poll brings out in terms of optimism. That sense of optimism is reflected in this particular category as well. So, it is but natural, and when you are talking about very happy, 29% people, I am a little surprised with that number, because not many people will be talking about very happy, but yes, happy. But at the same time, when you are looking at it, put it in context, for example, the income context, when you are talking about now what exactly the income thing that they are talking about, it has not gone up, but at the same time we have to remember that 1 year is too short a time, because if you are talking in terms of income going up, it can only go up to for people who are employed in regular jobs, and comes with pay hikes and all, but otherwise income increasing inside a year, there are a lot of parameters involved in it. Perhaps the survey could have taken note of those things as well. So yeah, that question, I agree with Dr. Kohli that perhaps that question could have been phrased better, but you see, all these are linked to the happiness index. Now this interests me in particular, because if you are looking at the World Happiness Index, among the other indices, where India is right at the bottom, India is apparently among the hungriest countries, India is among the least happy countries, the saddest countries, even Pakistan is happier than us, apparently even Bangladesh is happier than us. Well, this survey proves all such surveys, that international surveys that are tom-tommed around, showing how awful India is, how badly placed India is. This proves all of those surveys to be fake, false. The thing is, you see, because if you don't need a survey like this to find out what is going on. You talk to people in general, you get that feeling. We are talking to people every day. Indians are hardworking people, and they are willing to sacrifice a lot for their families, for their children's career goals and all, everything. So many elements are come into this happiness. The family relationship, when you are talking about say for example relationship with the kind of atmosphere you have at your workplace. So the availability of, say for example, the education to your children, and the kind of job opportunities are there. So you see, a whole lot of things I would say make up what is known as the quality of happiness. But yes, are we perfect? No, we are not. We have a long way to go. But at the same time, all this talk about developed country makes me wonder. This whole concept of we have to earn this particular amount to be considered to be developed. Are we then willing to pay the price of what the Americans are paying, say for a pound of bread? Okay, what about purchasing power parity? When it comes to PPP, we are the third largest economy in the world. When a central government peon's salary nowadays is 45,000 rupees, that is according to the latest pay commission. But the thing is that how badly is that person? In terms of Indian living standards, how badly off is that person? Well, of course, even that person may be earning a pittance when it is compared to maybe developed country standards, but what about the standard of his living? So you see, we have to take into the account all these things, because if we achieve that, what we are, that some kind of that golden
Yes.
aim we have, that we have to achieve $20,000 or $30,000 to become a developed
Okay.
economy, what happens then? Then we will also, what happens to all the products that we are going to buy?
And Sharat Kohli, this survey is also setting the pace for what the country hopes will happen in the rest of this year 2026. As you know, it's being taken by respondents at the start of the new year. Obviously it reflects their hopes, aspirations and expectations for the rest of the year, where they do believe that there is going to be substantial progress. Now, how that progress happens, of course, is something that we'd also want to talk about, Dr. Kohli. Are you also pretty optimistic about the roadmap for achieving that progress and achieving our goals for this year, economically and otherwise?
Yes, I think the people are quite convinced that this government is going to continue the reforms. The reform agenda is irreversible. So people do expect hope and growing economy, emerging economy in the world. Then the benefit of that, as I said earlier, should try and reach us as well. Well, allow me to add, I completely concur the Joyita here, and allow me to disagree with one of my panelists, who said that certain per capita income has to be reached for India to become a developed economy. That's not the way to measure, because Joyita is absolutely right. It's the purchasing power parity. Do you want us to reach the American levels and start shooting people in schools and colleges? Do you want that we should sink into being a highly indebted economy? $38 trillion is the debt on America. If only per capita income numbers is the criteria for developed economy, I'm sorry, I completely disagree. What is a developed economy? A developed economy is where poverty is negligible. A developed economy is where the infrastructure is robust. A developed economy is where there is social security for everyone. So these are the three prime parameters which I have listed. So if we are heading in the right direction, we've still got 21 years to go. And 2026 for me, Uday, coming back to your question, is looking very promising. And I hope that the budget, which is coming on 1st of February, will spell out more reforms. There's already been a lot being done in the last year, 2025. There's been GST, there's been income tax, there's been labor code. So much has been done. And I think the government is constantly, I would say 24/7, this government is thinking of reforms and making sure that development continues. Development should become, DNA of ours. It's become DNA of the country. So I don't think any pessimism needs to be expressed here. Well, there are pitfalls and shortfalls. We are struggling with agriculture.
Yes.
We are struggling with poverty, unemployment. Yes. There are the income inequality. But then I think we should be very forward-looking and optimistic.
Venkanaran, quick last word to you on, of course, the roadmap as well for Viksit Bharat. Indians do believe that it's achievable by 2047. But how do we do this? Is that something we are very sure about? Are you optimistic about the roadmap, the government, for the next 2 decades?
2 days ago, the Prime Minister said that, India is on the reform express and he will continue to proceed on those lines. But, it's wonderful that India has been able to bring 25 crores of people above the poverty line in the past decade and a half or so. But the fact remains that 80 crores of Indians are being provided free rations, and 40% of the population is involved in agriculture, and they are accounting for only 15% of the GDP. And we are producing 1 crore graduates every year. Only 50% of the people are employable. The other people need to be trained, re-educated, or upskilled, and so on. These are massive, massive challenges ahead of India for the next 21 odd years to become a developed country. But, we are on the right track. I'm absolutely confident about that. And the rate of growth should continue to be 8 to 10% for the next 20 odd years.
Right.
Then, we will achieve a remarkable growth.
All right.
Whether we'll become a fully developed country or upper middle class, as they say, well, let us see what happens.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this first edition of the Bharat Pulse survey. We will, of course, get you more subsequent segments. But for now, my thanks to our guests for being with us on this special show. We're quickly turning our focus to some breaking news coming in.